we have roughly about 30 minutes or so on this. This is just off to the east of 12 Mile. We're talking about also ping pong ball to golf ball sized hail. Obviously, that is enough to cause significant damage. Let's try to pull up the velocities. We were looking at this actually before we cut in. Now, this is a good way away from the radar, but you can see that rotation. There it is, showing up just off to the north and east of 12 Mile. You've got some of those reds and greens right next to each other. So from my understanding, this is radar indicated. That is why this tornado warning has been issued. I think it's moving pretty slowly to the east. Nick, how fast is that moving?
Yeah, it is moving. Let me just get an exact here, just so I got it for sure. It is moving towards the south and east at 30 miles per hour.
At 30 miles per hour. Okay, so if this is going to hold together and continue, it will be making its way, of course, to the southeastern portions of Madison County. It looks like the strongest part of the storm may just stay just to the south of Marquand. If it were to continue downstream, we're looking at areas like Grisham, looks like Scopus, Marble Hill. Of course, this is a good distance away, but notice what they've done outside of this tornado warning is they have actually issued a severe thunderstorm warning extending from this same cell. So we'll see if that rotation holds together. How long does a severe thunderstorm warning go? It was just issued after we popped on air. It does include Marble Hill, it looks like Scopus, so downstream of where we do have that tornado warning. So severe thunderstorm warning here for Bollinger County, tornado possible. That's because we do have that rotation. Of course, this extends out past that tornado warning. So we'll continue to watch that this evening. That's not the only thing that we have been watching tonight. We have seen very high winds with the northern portions of this line of storms that's making its way into parts of the viewing area. It's already cleared areas like Jefferson County and back into Perry County. I mean, you're still seeing a lot of rain, but the strongest part of that storm is now past you. We do have another severe thunderstorm warning that was recently issued for parts of, looks like Hamilton County and parts of Posey, Gallatin, and White counties. That's out ahead of this line until 9:15. Quarter-size hail, and then also 60-mile-per-hour winds with this portion of the storm. So we'll watch this very closely. That line there right in Hamilton County. Let's actually kind of make our way down the line and zoom in closer to some of these areas that we're seeing. So let's start at the top and zoom in close to that storm in parts of Hamilton County and pull it up just a little bit. There we go. So right now, the strongest part of this storm is right over McLeansboro. It is almost right on top of Dale. So if you are in Dale, you'll want to be in your safe spot a little bit further downstream, but not by much. We're talking about Broughton. It is over the Prairie area. And then we'll continue to kind of just call out towns and scooch this down a little bit further as this line makes its way through. So parts of Franklin County also in a severe thunderstorm warning. Lots of rain, and of course the storm right over the top of Benton going to be impacting West Frankfort within the next couple of minutes right along Interstate 57. So if you have any friends traveling along 57, this is something to keep a close eye on. Of course, very strong winds. We've been talking about 70-plus-mile-per-hour winds. We are actually starting to see some of this line filling in a little bit. So there has been a gap in the line through the evening, but it is now starting to fill in and extend a bit further to the south. And on the end of this line, that's where we're actually tracking that tornado warning. That's why we've jumped into programming this evening. That tornado warning is for the southern portions of Madison County. You can actually see that rotation very well here. This is pretty far from the radar, but you can see that rotation with the reds and greens showing up right there in that box. That's just off to the east of 12 Mile, and that is going to continue off to the south and east. I believe this warning again goes for another 30 minutes. It does look like the strongest part of this storm, where we see that rotation, will just graze the southern portions of Marquand. So it's going to be moving through the southern portions of Madison County. Albright, Grassy, Glen Allen. If this storm holds together, it will be continuing in your direction. The National Weather Service has also issued a severe thunderstorm warning off of this, again, very strong storm. What we were tracking before we started to see some of that rotation pop up was actually a very large hail. We've been watching this storm extremely closely tonight because we have seen large hail. We're talking about ping pong to golf ball size hail possible with this. There you go, about 1.5 inches in diameter when it comes to that hail tracker. So when you start to see some of these dark blues showing up and then some of those purples, then you have a pretty good idea that we've got, again, good sized hail coming through the area, could cause significant damage. We're actually seeing, you can see the path of that storm really well by just looking at the core of that hail tracker. It moved just through central, through the south of central, across 67, and now it's continuing a bit further to the south and east. Again, looking like it'll graze the southern portions of Marquand before continuing southeast. So we'll keep a very close eye on this. Of course, we did break in for that tornado warning. Nick, you have a live look at some of the chat going on. Have they confirmed anything? Are there any reports on this?
It is looking like no reports exactly of what's going on here. We're hearing loud, lots of lightning with these cells, so very energetic with some of these cells, but not seeing anything confirmed, at least with this tornado warning. It looks like they kind of extended it here into Marble Hill, so we're going to go ahead and just pop that warning up real quick. And that is going to be for Bollinger and Wayne counties. So it continues there until about 9:30. So that's about an hour from where we are right now. So it looks like they've continued with that warning right now. And we'll go ahead and just do a storm track, JC, real quick for you. And then you'll be able to name off some of those counties here as I get that up.
And again, this is moving out of Madison County. It'll be moving through the central portions of Bollinger County right over Marble Hill. So Grisham, Marble Hill, Drum, you are all now in this tornado warning. That has been extended. It goes for the next hour or so because, again, there's that decent rotation showing up on the radar. Nothing is confirmed. However, a good indication, though, that we could see a tornado there. So when it comes to some of those towns that you saw popping up there, if you were in that, you'll want to make sure you're heading to your safe place immediately. And honestly, even with some of these severe thunderstorm warnings tonight, you do want to make sure you're seeking shelter if you're out ahead of this line. Because when you're talking about 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts, it doesn't necessarily take a tornado to cause significant damage. That will certainly cause significant damage to, of course, anyone outside, homes, trees. And again, we have been keeping a close eye on this. This is a nice, very nice wide look of what we're tracking tonight. So this is the entire line extending from the northern portions all the way down through parts of southeastern Missouri of what we're tracking tonight. So again, Carbondale, you're already dealing with some of the storms. And then if we push this further into parts of western Kentucky, you've still got about an hour, hour and a half for areas like Paducah and further to the south and east. But this line is expected to impact the entire viewing area in one form or another. So if you are out ahead of this line, again, just stay safe. Keep an eye on the radar this evening. We're going to keep coming back to this storm that is in parts of southeastern Missouri because that is where we do have that tornado warning. And honestly, even with the latest updates, it's still pretty well defined. So you've got a pretty nice view of where those reds and greens are coming together with that circulation. We're a good ways away from the radar, but again, it is showing up there just to the south of Marquand. Nick, it looks like you may have something for us.
Yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and take a look at, since we are seeing those reds and greens really close to each other. Now, I know we're far away from the radar, and so this is, well, it looks like we just got a new update in there with that new slide. So we're just going to go take a look at the correlation coefficient. What this is showing us basically is if we can see any debris kind of in this cell here. So this is where that circulation was, not seeing anything incredible in terms of debris. You would see some blue colors in here to indicate whether there would be any debris in and around this area. But you do see, however, at least on the northern part of this storm, let me get my drawing tool out here. You do see some of this yellowish, greenish color over towards Marquand. This is more than likely some hail that's with that system right now. And so that's what we're watching right now. Not seeing any indications, at least as of right now, of any of that tornado debris. And of course, we got that new scan of the velocity. And as we look into that, it looks like, just a bit ago, if we just take this back just a little bit, it was a bit stronger here just moments ago. And then as we got to just about right now, you can see how these colors here. This was just a few minutes ago, those reds and greens very tight right here. So that's where you're seeing that potential circulation. That's where that potential tornado would have been located. But as we move to just recently, you can see how that scan drastically changes and it gets a little bit more not as tight as we would say. So it's not seeing those reds and greens close up to each other, JC. And so that is a good sign from what I'm seeing right now. So that is a good sign, at least as of the most recent scan. We know, of course, with these lines, they can be very quick to spin up those tornadoes, very quick. They go down, they go right back up, but then they can still come down a little bit later. That's how much wind energy kind of is in the atmosphere right now. And so that's what we're going to be watching. Again, this warning continuing here for at least the next hour going towards Marble Hill here. I'll go ahead and throw another track on this, and let me just make sure that this track is for the correct speed here. And we'll throw another track and show you where the most damaging part of this storm will be headed over the next 30, 40 minutes. We're talking Glen Allen at 8:59, Marble Hill at 9:06, Crump at 9:22 p.m. So again, if this holds together, those are the locations. If you see your town popped up, you definitely want to have a plan ready. Go to your safe place. We're talking lowest level of your home, away from windows, away from exterior walls, and in the center location of that bottom floor. We're talking a bathroom. We're talking a closet. You want no windows, and you want as many walls between you and the outside as possible, especially when you have this tornado warning coming towards your location. So let me go ahead and get that off of here. And JC, I'll throw it back to you to check out. We'll zoom in on some of these locations and see if you can see exactly where this is headed here as we close in on this.
Sure, let's give another wide look of everything going on, because of course we did interrupt programming for the tornado warning, but there's a lot more than that happening. We are still tracking this line of storms making its way through. The biggest impacts and where we've seen the biggest bowing segments coming out with this line have been the northern portions of the viewing area. So we're actually starting to see that making its way towards the Carmi area. So again, starting to make its way just off to the east of our region, but still seeing quite a bit of activity back through Hamilton County. This is going to be working its way towards the northern portions of Saline County and then down into Gallatin County as well. So if you are located to the east-southeast of this line, you will want to make sure you're heading to your safe place. We're talking about significant winds with this 70-plus-mile-per-hour winds with this line of storms coming through. So this is a rough look at some of those times with this line making its way into your area. If you see your town name, you'll want to make sure, again, you have planned appropriately, even if you're quite a ways ahead of that line, because, again, significant winds with this. We do still have a severe thunderstorm warning, I believe, for parts of the region. I think that is for Hamilton County, Saline County, and then northern Gallatin County. Nick, how long does that go?
Yeah, that's going to be going until just about, looks like 9:15, so about 40 minutes from now.
Okay, so we still have a ways left on that. We do see where we have that warning is actually where that line is starting to push out ahead. So that's where we got that Boeing segment indicating those strong straight line winds. There it is for you, 9:15, Gallatin, Hamilton, Posey, and White counties, wind speeds of about 60 miles per hour, and then quarter-size hail with this. The other thing that we haven't talked too much about, I would like to point out, so we saw a lot of activity back through Jefferson County down into Perry County earlier. This line has made its way through your area, so if you're waiting for the all clear to go ahead and go to bed, yes, we've got a lot of rain. You're probably still hearing some thunder in those areas, but that severe threat is now past you. So once this line makes its way through your area, you will be in the clear. Obviously, for some of those eastern counties, it'll be a bit of a longer night for you until this line progresses all the way across the viewing area. Let's touch base again with that tornado warning that we jumped into programming for, because that's why we're on here tonight. We do have that tornado warning that has been issued for parts of Madison County, and then it does extend into central Bollinger County, and we actually saw some pretty decent rotation on that. Let's see if we can get that up. It actually looks much better than it did earlier. So actually, if we back this up, can you back that up a little? Perfect. So we were actually, when this was issued, you can see those bright reds and greens pretty tight together, indicating that circulation. But as the storm has progressed to the south and east, it does look like it's started to lose a little bit of that strength, which is obviously what we do want to see. However, with that said, we do still have a tornado warning issued for parts of Madison and Bollinger counties. I believe this goes until 9:30 tonight. It does include areas like Marble Hill. Looks like it extends through Buchanan and then stays just to the south of Scopus. So we will continue to watch this and make sure that it doesn't re-strengthen. That's what we see in these lines quite a bit. You'll see a brief spin up and then it will actually weaken quite quickly. So that is actually good news for us. And from my understanding, when this was issued, this was a radar indicated storm. So no confirmed reports of funnel clouds or anything like that, right, Nick?
Yes, absolutely no confirmation. This is radar confirmed. So again, we're seeing those reds and greens close up to each other. They saw that and they went ahead and triggered this.
Okay, all right, perfect. So we'll continue to watch this for you. If you are tuning in, of course, from other areas, there's just a lot of activity. You can actually hear the thunder booming here at the TV station now. Straight line winds going to be that main threat this evening. Let's actually see, we haven't talked too much about our severe thunderstorm watch. A lot of the area under that. Nick, could you plot that in for us? There we go, perfect. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch, of course, for all of southern Illinois, back into southeastern Missouri and into western Kentucky until about 2 a.m. So I do expect some of those western counties to kind of be carved out of this watch after that line passes through. But if you are in western Kentucky and off through the eastern portions of the viewing area, it's going to be quite a while before this system actually makes its way through your area. So that's why we have that watch in place until 2 a.m. So let's check back in on the radar one more time. It actually doesn't seem like we've seen as many severe thunderstorm warnings issued here recently, which is actually good news, because we had several severe thunderstorm warnings earlier today that had destructive tags on them. They had considerable tags on them. There are certain levels of severe thunderstorm warnings, and when you start to see those considerable and destructive tags, that indicates obviously a very strong storm. So we've been tracking that. Once you get to that destructive level, you're talking 80+ mile per hour winds. Right now, we do not have that on the board. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning through parts of White County, still extends into Gallatin County and into parts of Saline County. But this severe thunderstorm warning, if you are in Harrisburg, that warning is just to the north of you. You're not necessarily in the clear. We are still expecting these storms to make their way into your area, but at this point, not severe for you. So that is good news. Still, we'll see some thunder, some lightning, and then some gusty winds. This line continues all the way down to the south, where we do still have our eye on that tornado warned storm. That's for southeastern southeastern Madison County, and then extends into Bollinger County as well. We're actually starting to see some more storms, of course, develop on the backside of this, extending through Wayne County near Piedmont, and then a little bit further to the south and west. So we'll have to watch these tonight. These storms are moving roughly to the east at about 50 miles per hour. This is a look at that track. If you are downstream of this southern portion, you're talking Piedmont, Castor, Poplar Bluff, Scott City. We do keep checking in on that camera in Poplar Bluff, and it's really pretty quiet at this point. Don't let your guard down just yet. Some storms will be rolling into your area here shortly. Let's check in on that tornado warned storm again and see how that rotation is looking. Make sure that it is not quite as strong still. So, okay, yeah, it looks pretty good. That's great news. Again, we have been tracking the circulation just to the south of Marquand. It was really tight, actually, back towards Central and 12 Mile. That's when the warning was issued, and then it started to weaken as it's pushed further to the south and east. The other thing to note, though, that we haven't touched on here, at least in a little bit, is the hail. We have been tracking extremely large hail tonight with some of these storms, and this is one of them. We were at times seeing a ping pong to golf ball size hail possible with this cell. You can actually get a pretty nice idea of exactly where the core of that storm tracked right through central Madison County. So it passed through this southern portions of central and is now starting to push to the south and east. We have been tracking that rotation, but also notice some of that hail is starting to drop off as well. So not quite as strong when it comes to that hail core. Still probably talking about quarter size hail or maybe a little bit larger, but for the most part, it has started to weaken. So a very active night across the area. We do have, I believe, a lot of spotters out in the field across the region. Nick, has anybody chimed in on our chat?
Watching that cell that we were talking about, and so they're still looking at that. They say that it is far away from the radar, so this is a strong rotation, but it's up in the higher levels of the atmosphere. So again, regardless of that, it's going to have that opportunity, because it is spinning, to drop a tornado at any point. Now, I did want to go ahead and just quickly take a look here at our cameras across the area, and hopefully this will pop up here. You can see kind of some lightning over near Mount Vernon. The camera's very, very messy out there across the entire area. So again, we're seeing, again, very active weather. Even if you're not in that tornado warning, you want to take it slowly on the roadways, as, we're going to have very wet roads. That rain is coming down very, very fast. You can see that lightning flashing on that Mount Vernon camera. So that's the other thing. These storms have tons of lightning associated with them. So that's just another aspect to these storms where you want to stay inside, and that's something that you want to take very seriously. Lightning can definitely do damage and even hurt you yourself and do damage to your life. So you don't want to be caught out in any of these storms because of how much lightning there is. Again, taking a look, of course, I was looking at the radar image. We're seeing a lot of those storms really start to fire here just to the south of where that tornado warning is currently occurring right now. And so I want to go ahead and just play the last 30 minutes. You can see how things are continuing to develop here just to the south of that line. So we're watching this very closely as any of these line segments can continue to spin up some of those quick spin up tornadoes. And we've been talking about that all day today, how these lines can really start to just quickly spin up a tornado, drop down, and then come back up and do it all over again. So we don't want you to let your guard down in any way, shape, or form, whether you are in a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning. These storms are very active. And they are very strong, and so we have plenty of wind shear here in the atmosphere to go ahead and get those quick spin up tornadoes. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in here on that tornado warning storm, I should say. Marble Hill, this is heading towards you right about now. We're going to take a look at those velocities again. And yeah, we're not seeing completely, that really vigorous signal for that rotation. If we bring it back just a little bit, you can see how strong it was before. I mean, right here, just east of 12 Mile, that's where it got very concerning here, right in this area, right here. And so that's the cell that we're tracking. That's the rotation that we're tracking. As you move that forward, though, you can see how it pretty much falls apart, at least at this time. Does that mean that the tornado is completely gone? Does that mean that the threat is over? Absolutely not. We talked about how these can spin up very quickly here. And so regardless of what it looks like right now, we'll go ahead and put a track on this thing as it continues towards the south and east here. Let me go ahead and do that for you right now, and you'll see this will continue towards the east-southeast at around 30 miles per hour. We're talking Glen Allen at 9:06 p.m. You need to get to your safe place. Marble Hill, 9:13 p.m. You need to be in your safe place regardless. We're talking lowest level of your home. We're talking centermost portion of that lowest level. We're talking a bathroom, a closet, somewhere where you can put multiple walls in front of you and the outside, okay? That is going to be the safest place for you and your family during a tornado warning. So that is what we're looking at. You want to stay away from windows, of course. We've been talking about the hail with some of these systems. Sometimes that hail can break through those windows, and so you're talking about debris, glass being shattered. You do not want to be near any of that as it continues to push through. And so we'll take a look at that radar again and watch this. You can see how that line of storms just behind it really starting to develop here. And so what we may end up seeing is like what we were seeing up towards the north, where that line was bowing out and you were getting kinks in the line over towards St. Louis. They were getting a lot of those tornado warnings. They were seeing a lot of those kinks in the line, which therefore triggered some of those warnings. So this is that rotation that we're watching right here. And then, of course, now you have this entire bow watching. So we're watching these little areas here of rotation potentially as this continues to move towards the south and the east. Let me go ahead and get that off, and we'll go ahead and just take a wide view here, JC, and I'll throw it back to you to check out some of these thunderstorms just to the north here.
Sure, let's actually go ahead, if we don't mind, if we can switch this over to Weather 1. I do have that pulled up here. Perfect. All right, almost the same view. If I zoom in here, we are still tracking that line of storms a little bit further to the north. If I do put a little box on here just to continue to update you, make it a little bit easier for you to see, we do have that severe thunderstorm warning in place until 9:15. So about 15 more minutes on that severe thunderstorm warning. That is for Gallatin, Hamilton, Posey, and White counties. We're talking about 60+ mile per hour winds and quarter-sized hail. So we have been watching this line very closely. It does look like it has improved a bit over the course of the last hour or so. But if you are just to the south and east of this line, you obviously want to make sure you are still staying weather aware. So we're going to kind of travel down this line. The strongest part of the storm through the Carmi area has now pushed past, still seeing quite a bit of rain, probably some thunder and lightning, but those winds should now start to be moving past you. Norfolk, this is just located just to your north, so the storm going to be making its way into your area. If you are in Dale, in Hamilton County, this storm, again, you're seeing some rain. It looks like the strongest part of the storm is going to start to work its way into your area within the next couple of minutes. Of course, you are seeing some of that rain, of course, thunder and lightning already. continuing to push downstream along this line. A lot of activity in the cave area extending down into West Frankfort. However, there is not a severe thunderstorm warning on this portion of the storm. You can still see some small hail and some gusty winds with this, so it doesn't mean that it's not necessarily going to storm. Of course, we just aren't quite at those severe limits. So if you head downstream, again, this is going to be moving towards Galatia, towards Corinth within the next couple of minutes, and then eventually down towards the Harrisburg area. Not warned at this time, but still a pretty strong thunderstorm. This portion of the storm extends all the way down to about Heron. So hearing some thunder and lightning actually, of course, here outside of the TV station, a few rumbles of thunder, but also we are not under that severe thunderstorm warning, just seeing a good healthy storm making its way through. Another section of area from about DeSoto down just to the east side of Carbondale, so very heavy rain and likely some lightning within that as well. But why we have interrupted programming tonight is what we keep coming back to is for that tornado-warned storm that was making its way through parts of Madison County and into central Bollinger County. So that is why we have interrupted programming. We do still have that tornado warning in place until 9:30. So at this time, it does look like it is still radar indicated, which means there is no confirmed funnel cloud or tornado on the ground. But why is that, again, radar indicated? And that's because we saw that really nice, healthy rotation there showing up on the radar. Nick mentioned this earlier. We are pretty far from the radar site. So it starts to, the further away you get from that radar beam, you're starting to look a little bit higher up into the atmosphere and not quite as low to the ground. But with that said, if we scroll this back a little bit, there's that rotation that starts to show up near 12 Mile, and it sticks around, and then it starts to weaken a bit. That doesn't mean that the threat is necessarily over. We do still have that tornado warning in place for another 30 minutes or so. This is going to be making its way towards the Marble Hill area. We've mentioned Marble Hill several times. If you are in Marble Hill, you'll want to make sure you seek safety, go to the innermost room of your home, put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. And of course, it's nighttime. Don't go outside and try to see this storm because you're really not going to be able to. Just make sure you head to that safe place right away. That's one of the worst things to do, which I know a lot of folks do. Try to step outside and step out on their porch and see if they can see it. Definitely do not do that. The strongest portion of the storm, where we've been seeing some of that rotation, looks like it is going to end up staying just to the north of Buchanan. But if you are in Buchanan, you probably heard those weather radios going off. You are in that tornado warning. And if we continue downstream, it looks like Hahn and Drum also within this warning. So again, that is why we have interrupted programming. I am going to switch this back to the radar for you. We do have strong storms, not severe warned storms, but we do have strong storms that are continuing further to the south and west through parts of southeastern Missouri, in the Piedmont area, dealing with, of course, a lot of heavy rain, lightning, and storms. And this extends just through, just to the north and west of Elsinore. So this will work its way southeast, much like the rest of the line tonight. So Elsinore, Williamsville, Grandin, Donovan, Naylor, Poplar Bluff. Eventually, this will start to make its way towards you. Let's zoom back in and get a wider view one more time. Again, this is a wide look. This is that line of storms that we are tracking tonight. Almost the entire viewing area is under that severe thunderstorm watch until this line makes its way through. So, this is a good update. So we are watching, once that line comes through, the severe threat will end for you. So this severe thunderstorm watch was issued for almost the entire viewing area, but you'll notice Jefferson County and Perry County off to our north have already been carved out of that watch because we are seeing that severe threat diminish. So if you're waiting to go to bed and you know you're tired, once this line gets through, you will have that all clear. You'll be able to go to bed and rest easy tonight. The good news is that this is not going to be an overnight event. And then Nick, I'm going to send it back over to you. Do you have any updates?
Yeah, we'll pull up Radar Max 2 right now, and I just want to show the cameras out there, live view out there in Carbondale. You can see that storm now moving through our area, seeing some of that lightning in the background in and around Mount Vernon as well. Now, of course, JC was just talking about the tornado safety where you want to be, and you can see those flashes of lightning out there in the distance. So very active storms out there, very electric storms. And so I want to go ahead and just throw up the tornado safety here, just to give you more of a visual view of the best spots here to be located when you are under that tornado warning. So we're talking the lowest level of your home here. A closet, a hallway, a bathroom, the best things that you could be at under a stairwell that's kind of in the center portion of that lowest level. Of course, the best place, if you have a basement at your home that's underground, that is the best place to be in case you are here in that tornado warning. You want to avoid windows, doors, outside walls. You want to put as many walls in between you and the outside as possible. Cover yourself with blankets and or a mattress, pillows, because if there was a tornado and you do get that debris kind of flying everywhere, you want to be able to protect yourself and especially your head. You see a lot of cases where you can see injuries in tornadoes just from that flying debris, and so you want to be able to cover yourself at least with some blankets of some sort to be able to kind of mitigate that sort of portion of damage. And of course, safest place to be, the basement. You do not want to be on a deck, not the kitchen, nowhere where you're seeing those windows. So we're taking a look back at those cameras real quick. You can see very active out there, especially in and around Mount Vernon and Carbondale. I'm going to go ahead and take you back to the radar here real quick. The National Weather Service, obviously most concerned here with the southern portion of this line here. That's where we're seeing a lot of the robust activity, and you can even hear potentially some of those lightning strikes just happening right outside of our studio. So you could hear that rumbling occasionally. And so what we're looking at here is a lot of this area here in Missouri has yet to have any of that thunderstorm activity. We saw those isolated cells earlier in the day today. Those were over and around Carbondale and central and southern Illinois here. But over here, where we're dealing with this line of storms, and I'll draw it for you, this all has not been, tapped here. So we're talking a lot of still ingredients available in and around Poplar Bluff. As this line continues to push southward, we could see these storms continue to intensify as they do push into this area. So this is where the National Weather Service is most concerned here as this line continues to move through. Of course, we do have that tornado warning right now. We're going to zoom in on it real quick and just give you another kind of look at this. And what you want to see here, you can even see it with the radar, that squiggly kind of line here continuing to push through. And so where you get these kinks in the line, that's where you can see a potential tornado. So that's where that tornado warning is. So let me go ahead and just reset here and show you again. We're going to zoom in on this storm, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at those velocities to see how we're looking in terms of that rotation with this storm. So we're now starting to hear definitely some storms rolling over the station right now, hearing that heavy rainfall, and we're even getting some reports of some flash flooding in some locations in and around West Frankfort. So again, when you're driving out here, you definitely don't want to be driving, right? That's not what we want to be doing right now. But if you are out and about right now, definitely want to make sure you're turning around, not drowning in some of those roadways that are filled up with water, because these storms are dropping a lot of rainfall. So again, looking at that rotation, not the strongest rotation we've ever seen, right? We've got stronger rotation just earlier today at around 827. Regardless, though, we do still see at least some weak rotation here along this portion. And if I can circle it here, there we are. That's where we're seeing that rotation. And again, we show you this velocity, and you're probably thinking, what are we looking at here? Here's the radar over here in Paducah, just to the right of your screen. Anywhere where you're seeing those reds, the radar is picking up raindrops that are moving away from that radar. And then anywhere where you're seeing the greens, you're seeing raindrops that are moving towards the radar. So you see these red colors are going this way, and then the greens are going towards the radar here. And so right in between, that's where you get your circulation. That's where you get your potential tornado to form. Now, these we want to see, or what we don't want to see, are these colors really bright and close together. And that's what we're not seeing right now, which is great news. But regardless, some marginal rotation is still located here. And so we're going to go ahead and do a quick track on this. Let me go ahead and go back to the radar just so you can see that storm system. And we'll do a quick track here showing this storm continuing to push off towards the east-southeast over the next hour here. And so we're talking 9:27 at Drum, Whitewater at 9:37, Delta at 9:44 p.m. if this storm continues to push forward and continue to move towards the east-southeast. Now let's get some more details on this exact warning to show you. And yeah, we're looking at 9:30 p.m. Central Time is when this goes until Bollinger County. You are under the gun right now. And again, this is a radar indicated tornado. So this is nothing that is confirmed. This is radar indicated. So that means we do not know if there's an actual tornado on the ground, but there's enough evidence from the radar to go ahead and warn. And if you're in these locations out ahead of it, you need to be in your safe place. So I'm going to go ahead and toss it back over to JC here on Max 1. And JC, what else are you looking at over there?
Just keeping a pretty close eye on that rotation. Right now, that still looks like it is just to the north of Grassy. So if you're located in Grassy, you want to be in your safe place, of course. Right now, we are still expecting this to continue to track to the south and east, likely passing just to the north of Hahn. Looking like it will go over State Highway FF, and it looks like Highway Contract 66. So if you hear, any street names that or towns, you are in the path of this storm that is capable of producing a tornado. So we are still on air for this tornado warned storm. This warning is still in place until about 9:30. So we are going to stay on with you until that threat has passed. You will notice that parts of this tornado warning have been carved out. So maybe you were in that portion in Madison County or back into parts of Bollinger County near Buchanan. That threat is past you. So again, if you were in that tornado warning, that threat is now past you. And that rotation that we are watching is just to the north of Grassy. We are pretty far from the radar, so we're looking up pretty high there in the atmosphere, but there is still enough rotation in this cell here to keep a very close eye on it. The other thing that we have seen with this particular cell, we've been actually tracking it for quite a while before it produced that rotation and that possibility of a tornado for hail. It has actually dropped some very large hail as it made its way through parts of Madison County. So you can actually, if we pull up this hail tracker, get a nice view of where this storm tracked through. So it went right through central Madison County, just to the north of 12 Mile, and now it is starting to push into Marble Hill. The other thing that you may pick up from this hail tracker is that we're not seeing as large of hail anymore. So that is also good. Starting to see that weekend, you're probably still going to see quarter-sized hail. So I'm not saying that the hail threat is gone, but it's certainly not as large as what we were seeing earlier with this cell. But what I did notice when I pulled up this hail tracker a little bit further to the south, so we've been talking about those storms developing just to the south of this and kind of that untapped air mass that hasn't seen any of the severe weather yet. And we're seeing some of those storms actually producing some decent size hail. We're starting to get some of those light blues and darker blues showing up here. Let's see if I can get an estimate here and put a little query tool on this. About quarter size hail. So again, even if you're outside of that severe thunderstorm warning, we do have some pretty decent hail showing up across the region. Right now, that's just off to the north and west of Greenville. So it will be moving towards Greenville, across 67, and then continuing to the southeast near Puxico, Williamsville, and then further towards the Poplar Bluff area. So again, small hail possible across this entire line of storms. Even if we pull up the track a bit further to the north to that northern line where we've been most concerned with the damaging winds, that hail tracker is still showing, you know, some of those whites and those light blues showing up. And that is, again, that quarter size hail that we have been tracking. I'm going to see if I can switch this back over to the radar for you to give you another decent wide view of this line. This entire line making its way through the viewing area tonight. We do still have that severe thunderstorm warning in place for the northern portions of the viewing area. It does highlight parts of Hamilton County. It does look like it is just to the south of McLeansboro. So the strongest part of this storm has already moved through the McLeansboro area. It's starting to move out of Dale, right along Illinois 142, and it's going to be moving into El Dorado. So El Dorado, Harrisburg, you'll want to be prepared as this storm starts to make its way into your region. It'll move to the south and east towards Somerset as well. So Saline County, portions of Gallatin County, Pope County, Johnson County, Hardin County, you are all out ahead of this line of storms moving to the south and east. Not seeing any severe thunderstorm warnings through parts of Williamson and into parts of Saline County. So that is good news. Seeing maybe a little bit of light rain in parts of Union County as well. So again, not quite as strong as what we were seeing earlier this evening. We were tracking some of those storms with 80+ mile per hour winds possible. That was in northern Jefferson County. Now, after this line makes its way through your area, it's been an active night for Jefferson County and Perry County. If this line has already made it through your area, which it has for Jefferson, Perry, and parts of Franklin County, the severe threat is over. So you can go to bed and rest easy. We're actually hearing some of that rain picking up here at the TV station, and we've heard quite a few rumbles of thunder. You can see that particular part of the line extending from about Heron and down towards Marion, right along 13. So even if you're not in one of these severe storm warnings, there are still some pretty strong storms making their way through. We are still with you on programming because we are tracking this tornado warned cell that's made its way through Madison and is now into parts of Bollinger County. We do have this tornado warning in place for about another, it looks like 18 minutes or so before we see that expire. We do have that for Bollinger County radar indicated, which is ultimately good news. So it's not confirmed. We've just seen that tight rotation, those reds and greens showing up there on the radar this evening. So that's why the National Weather Service has gone ahead and issued that tornado warning. So let's switch this back over to the velocities again and just see if we can get another decent view of this storm that we've been watching tonight. Let's switch this to maybe a better view here. And it still does look like much better than it did earlier. We were seeing, of course, some of those reds and greens showing up pretty tight a bit further back. However, that has weakened quite a bit. It does look like maybe we have another severe thunderstorm warning to pass along. Let me see if I can get that pulled up for you. Probably along the northern portions of this line. We'll zoom out a bit and see if we can get another wide view of the line. There we go. We do have, again, excuse me, hold on one second here. We do have that new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued for parts of the area. Nick, can you kind of detail that out? It looks like it's moving towards Interstate 69 into the Evansville area.
Yes, and what I wanted to go ahead and point out real quick is the National Weather Service went ahead and continued with that tornado warning here, just passing towards past Marble Hill now. And so I'm going to go ahead and just take a quick second and look at exactly the details here on that. This will go until about 10 o'clock. So what I was looking at in the chat over here, they were talking about potentially, that storm is weakening with its circulation. And if we can go ahead and go to max to a radar right now, we can see that exactly in the control room. If we can go ahead and go, there we go. And so we're talking about a new issue tornado warning here. This continues the one that we were seeing over in Bollinger County. This will now include Cape Girardeau County, Stoddard County, and this goes until about 10 p.m. Central Time.